Hi guys, my name is Colin and this is Colin Talks Crypto. The past couple of weeks have been rough. So I just want to take a couple of moments here and record a free-flowing podcast style audio on everything that I can think of that's relevant and that we've all experienced, as well as what I'm doing and how I'm planning to tackle the future. I'm also going to cover mistakes that I've made because I think that's part of the process here. So let's take it from where it started. The depegging of UST, the stable token on the Terra ecosystem. It first began to lose its peg. I think it was it May 7th? I'm actually not sure, but approximately May 7th, I believe. And at first it wasn't too bad. It sort of rebounded, but then it continued to crash, and we all know the story today. UST is, I think currently it's about 10 cents on the dollar. I think the only thing holding that with any kind of value is the proposed Terra revival plan, creating a second blockchain or a fork, and then allocating the new tokens to holders of UST, among other holders as well. Past and present holders of UST, past and present holders of Luna, etc. So I think that's the only reason that Luna has any value at all right now. It's a speculative play that people are treating UST sort of like as the ICO purchase token if you want to get in on the next iteration of the Luna blockchain. I personally do not find that very interesting, and I'll try to get into that later of why I'm not that interested in the next version of Luna, or Terra I should say, the Terra blockchain 2.0. But basically what's going to happen is the current Luna token is going to be renamed LUNC, which stands for Luna Classic. God knows we need another classic token in the crypto space. And the new Luna token will be called Luna, which I think is a clever play as far as hopefully maintaining trading pairs on exchanges using the Luna ticker symbol. And so that's roughly speaking how it's going to go down. Do Kwon has put forth a couple of proposals on how we're going to proceed, and they're being voted on. And I don't really know the status of how they're doing because frankly I don't care that much. We all hope that we're made whole. I think it's not going to happen. I don't think it's possible to make us all whole, just to speak frankly and honestly. I don't think it's going to happen. Now what we can hope for is to be made some percentage whole. If we had $100,000 of UST, maybe we can make $30,000 back on that. That would be, I think, pretty optimistic, actually. I do not see us likely making back our full original investments. Although there's a chance that some of the smaller investors and stable token holders may have a greater chance at being made whole. So I wish the best for everyone. Now, here's a mistake I want to own up to. This is one of several mistakes I've made. I am by far from perfect, and here's an example of how. So, as Luna was dropping in price, I looked at it as an opportunity. I can buy in the face of drops, and it's not a problem for me. I look at it as an opportunity to gain more for cheap. And that can work. It does have workability. But in this case, it did not. And in retrospect, I feel a little foolish buying on the way down because we were facing a protocol issue. It wasn't just like the market was bearish, being bearish at the moment. It was the market was being bearish for a reason because the stable token was collapsing. So there was a very legitimate reason for people to be selling. And there I was buying into that, into the face of that fear, but I would say foolishly in hindsight. And this is a lesson I'm going to have to take with me. If I wanted to be buying tokens on the way down, fine, but I needed to limit my portion size a little better, I think. I went in a little too heavy. So that's the con of things. That's one thing I did badly. One thing I did very well, and I'm really happy with myself, was 1 month ago, 1 month prior to this collapse, I started taking profits. I started selling Luna into Ethereum. And I sold 20% of my total Luna supply into ETH at a ratio, I think it was 0.033 ETH per Luna, which is like remarkable. If you go look at the charts, that's remarkable. Maybe the average is a little lower, like 0.03, but still very good. Needless to say, I wish I did 100% of my Luna holdings and sold it into ETH at that time, but I didn't have the foresight to know that the price was going to go to zero on both the stable token and the Luna token. I also took another 15% or so Luna profits and put it into stable tokens. And then of that, I put about 10% of that into USDC. I wish I had done all of it in USDC because the 90% of the remainder I had held in UST. So that was another mistake. I lost all that UST and I was only able to salvage a very small amount of that. So now that it's all said and done, now that the Terra Luna price has gone to zero, the Terra dollar, the UST has gone to close to zero. I haven't done the exact math on it, but I think that I basically broke even. I don't think I lost anything. I don't think I really gained too much either, which is really, honestly, pretty good. It's much better than many others fared, and so I am definitely grateful that I came out basically unscathed. Although it's hard to say that. It's hard to say that with a straight face because, I looked at my portfolio and I saw how insanely up it was, and I lost all of that, all that potential gain. But all that ETH that I captured the profits in, selling the Luna to ETH, even though I bought that falling knife as Luna was dropping in price, and I started selling ETH back for Luna to try to accumulate more. And I have more Luna than I've ever had in my life, but it's worthless, so that doesn't really matter. Luckily, I did keep enough ETH that I still recouped my original Luna cost. So that's my long way of saying I have broken even on the whole thing. Even though I lost all my stable tokens, I lost a good chunk of ETH, and I lost all my Luna. Because I captured profits into ETH and I didn't sell all of it, I broke even. And I am very, very grateful for that and thankful for that. And I know that many of you out there are not as fortunate. And please do accept my sincere understanding for that situation, because I do understand the pain that feels. It feels horrible. I felt horrible for the past many days, just coming to grips with the fact of how much I lost. There are a handful of individuals out there who make mean comments or nasty comments, or even will say things like, look what you've done and how many people might you have hurt and things like that. And there's a couple points I just want to say to that. Aside from you just being just such a nasty, nasty person, first of all, nothing I ever say on this channel is financial advice. I am sharing with you what I do with my own money, because I know how hard it is to lose money. And so the last thing I want is someone blaming me for losing money. Secondly, I took profits a month ago. I shared this publicly. So to me, it's ironic. They're saying that they followed me to buy it, and they followed me when it went to zero, so therefore they lost, but they didn't follow me when I took profits. And so right there, I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for you. If you're gonna play the blame game, then just look at what I said. I said I took profits, so why were you not taking profits? Why were you not protecting yourself? No, that's right, you only want to blame. And I have no compassion for that type of individual. It's not just a newbie investor trade. It's a newbie investor trade of someone who's not a very good person. Someone who's looking to blame others in life for their own problems. So, sorry, if you have that kind of attitude, then take it elsewhere, because I have zero patience for it. I do have patience and I do have sympathy for those of you who lost money because someone attacked Luna, someone attacked the Terra blockchain, someone attacked UST, and we all got shafted for it. And for that sucks, and that I do understand. So yes, it's been a couple of rough weeks here. I'm finally coming to grips with it enough that I can record this and articulate it to you guys. And I want to express some of the greatest lessons that I've learned throughout this process. I've really learned some stuff that has really hit home. And it's funny because these lessons that I've learned are lessons that you hear all the time. It's just a matter of learning them personally such that I act upon them in the future. It doesn't do anyone any good if you learn something and you don't apply it. But if you learn something and you put it to use later and you listen to yourself and you act upon it, well, then you could say it had some value. And I really feel like I've learned some lessons to that degree, to that magnitude, that I will truly take them to heart and apply them in the future. So the first lesson, diversification. If I did not have a diversified portfolio, I would have been utterly out of the game right now. I would have no crypto at all. Zero. I'd just be out. If I was 100% in Luna, I'd be out of the game right now. And luckily, I was not 100% in Luna. I was about 50%, which is still huge. But there's a big difference between 50% in something and 100% in something when it collapses. That's a binary proposition. And you don't ever want to be in a binary proposition like that. So the fact that I had positioned myself into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, into Luna, and some stable tokens, well, everything that didn't collapse, I still have. And that's a lesson that I will never forget, because I saw essentially my portfolio skirt with death, and I'm alive financially because I diversified. Period. Full stop. And one way I've expressed this in the past, and I like to say it this way, is no matter how certain you are about an investment, nothing has a 100% chance of succeeding. No investment is 100%, because things can change, people can change, hacks can occur, exploits can occur. There can be some secret corrupt agenda that you're not aware of. It can be malicious and malevolent, or it can be accidental and unforeseen, even with the best of intentions. And I've seen all of that in the crypto space. I've definitely seen some malevolence and some intentional scamming. I think I've also seen some attempts at good that went wrong, despite everyone's best efforts. And I believe that actually Luna and UST was an example of the latter. I think that Do Kwon was truly doing his best to make a stable token for the future and a blockchain for the future. Now there's some question marks around that, because he did dissolve Terraform Labs a couple of weeks before it collapsed. His company was based in Singapore. And so that I don't have answers to everything. I just feel like he was trying to do good by the world. Now, obviously, if there's proof that comes to light that shows that was not the case, then I will adjust my opinion. And nobody is perfect, but I do feel that he was trying to make something that made the world a better place. And it just so happened to have the opposite effect. But this is an example of where something looks so good and so strong, and yet it failed anyways, because of essentially a black swan. So never put 100% of your money in one asset. That's the lesson I'm taking home from this. I will never own only one asset. I don't care what it is, because your risk is centralized in one place at that point. I won't ever own just Bitcoin. I won't ever own just dollars. I won't ever own just Luna. I won't ever own just one anything, because it's risk. Even in the crypto space, if you take multiple coins, as we just saw, you're still diversifying against the risks inherent in each crypto. Now, I think a much better way to diversify is to buy different asset classes entirely. Buy a house, buy a car, buy some stable tokens, buy some fiat, buy some Bitcoin, and then you're diversified across different asset classes. Some gold, some silver, some stocks. You know, if you have all those different things, then no matter what happens, you're going to have something when the dust settles. And it's really easy to lose sight of that when everything's heading up, especially the assets that are gaining the most. They're the hardest to let go of, and they're the hardest to take profits in. But I hope you get the point on my lesson number 1 here, which is diversification, diversification, diversification. Diversify within an asset class and diversify outside of an asset class. It is so important, and that's the only reason that I'm financially still standing today. So that's a lesson that I applied correctly, and it did help me out. Thank God. The next lesson that I learned was taking profits. And I've definitely improved on this. Back in 2017, I rode the entire bull run up and down and it didn't take a single profit. And I devoted the next years of my life to making sure that that never happened again. And that's why I took profits recently when I sold Luna for ETH. I was applying that. And thank God I applied that because, like I said, it helped me break even. I didn't lose, I didn't gain, but at least I broke even. Breaking even feels a lot better than losing, let me tell you that much. I've lost it all, and that's no fun. One of the rules I've come to observe is that when I feel so cocky with my portfolio, when I feel so confident that I'm taking screenshots and I'm sharing it with close friends and family, that's when I need to be taking profits. And I would have been so happy had I taken profits at those moments where I was so confident and so cocky and so euphoric that I was taking screenshots and sharing it with my family and close friends. So it's not to say that you literally have to take a screenshot, although I actually was. It's if you feel that way, that's a sign of euphoricness. And I think it's good to spot the indicators of euphoria so that you can think with it, because it's really hard to label oneself over euphoric. How many times in the last bull run cycles have you thought, oh, I'm too euphoric right now? I don't think many of us think of ourselves that way. It's too difficult to introspect when things are climbing so rapidly. It's just like counter to human psychology to introspect like that and to say, oh, I'm being too bullish, I'm being too euphoric. If you have, then my hat's off to you and you are on the track to success, because that's the time you need to take profits. That's the phenomena you need to recognize. You need to recognize you're being too bullish and too euphoric. There's nothing wrong with being bullish and euphoric other than you better take profits and you damn well better cover your cost basis, if nothing else. That's the hardest lesson I've learned, is cover your cost basis. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to be very honest and open with you guys about something that I only recently was truly honest with myself about. It took me this many years to really see this for myself. It's in regards to EOS, and I'll relate it to Luna as well. I bought EOS during the ICO I bought my cheapest under $1. I think my cost average was somewhere, I don't know, between $1 and $3. It doesn't really matter anymore because I don't own any EOS. But my cost average, let's say it was $1.50, okay? And I did lose tremendously. I lost so freaking much Ethereum to that ICO in terms of ETH, in terms of like hard assets. I lost a tremendous, more than Luna, like way more than Luna. It hit me hard, hit me fucking hard, pardon my language. But you know what? Here's the part that I was never honest with myself about. And this was so hard for me to admit. It took me 2 years to admit this, maybe 3 years. I had a chance to take profits and I didn't do it. That's the fact of the matter. There was a point where EOS, early in its lifespan, hit $22. Well, how many multiples above a $1.50 cost basis is $22? I don't know off the top of my head. What is that? Is that a 10x? Something pretty big, right? Why didn't I take at least my cost basis? That's the question I just recently asked myself. I could have taken my cost basis and had all my original Ethereum back, and then I would have just been playing with house money. But no, instead I chose to pass it up and hold because I was euphoric and I was too bullish. Again, nothing wrong with being bullish, but why the heck don't you take out your cost basis? Because then nothing can happen to you. Nothing can go wrong from that point. But no, I held 100% of it for years, finally selling it at a huge loss of Ethereum. Huge. Something I probably will never forget for the rest of my life. One of those really, really hard won lessons. And of course, block one, ran off with my Ethereum happily, bought some Bitcoin, and they're deca billionaires today. And I'm one of the guys who made them who they are. But the part that I can be responsible for is that I did have control over my destiny because I could have taken profits. And there was a point where I did sell 25% of my EOS for Luna when they were almost at price parity. And then Luna went up 13x. And I would have probably recouped most of that EOS loss had Luna not collapsed later. You see the bitter sweetness of this? So the lesson here is recoup your cost basis when you see a decent sized gain into the same asset that you purchased it with. So if I bought EOS with Ethereum, then recoup my entire Ethereum cost basis by selling EOS, and then keep the rest and do whatever the heck I want with it. It's such an important lesson. I cannot stress it enough. So the first lesson was diversification, and the second lesson was take profits, and specifically take back your cost basis. It de-risks you. It takes the risk out of the game. It makes you impervious to risk. Yes, it can go up 100x and crash to zero, just like Luna did. But you're impervious if you took out your cost basis. You hear people say this all the time. It's one of those trite sayings, these sayings that every seasoned investor tells you. It's like, don't invest more than you're willing to lose. Remember to diversify. Remember to take profits. Well, they're not joking, and it really hit home for me this last couple of weeks in regards to what happened with Luna. I never saw Luna crashing like it did. I thought it might correct, but I never saw it crashing like it did. And that's an example of why you should diversify and take profits, because the unforeseen can happen. Black swans do exist. And so those lessons are probably two that I will never forget from this point forward and will stick with me forever. I see myself taking profits on every asset from this point in the future when I make a decent sized gain on it and take back that house money, take back that cost basis into the asset I purchased it with. I made the same mistake when I was buying Bitcoin mining stock call options. I had a tremendous gain on that. My portfolio 10x'd, 5x'd, I forget what, something huge. I didn't take a single profit and I lost all of it, guys. I lost all of it. I've had some really rough lessons in trading in the last year or so. So I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. That's why you don't follow anyone you hear on the internet. You just listen to their story and you glean from it what you can to make yourself a better trader. And so I'm hoping that by me sharing this with you, I'm helping you to learn from my mistakes and to make you a better trader. But at the end of the day, only you are responsible to you. Only you have to report to yourself. Only you have to look yourself in the mirror, and you can either be happy with yourself or you can be full of regrets because you didn't follow these basic lessons that others have been telling you. And I completely understand if you slipped up and you made a mistake and you omitted one of these lessons in application, because I have done it myself. I just told you all the examples where I've failed to take profits and I've lost it all on numerous occasions with specific assets. And really the only thing that has saved me has been diversification. So those are some of the greatest lessons I've learned. I hope that you don't have to learn them the hard way. I hope that you can apply them by just hearing the stories of them, because it'll save you a lot of money. But in my case, the only way apparently that I learn and that I will truly apply my knowledge and not just sit on it is by learning the hard way and taking some losses. So it's ironic that while Luna and UST was a greater crash than EOS, I actually made a greater loss on EOS because I took profits with Luna. So I guess I am beginning to gradually put these lessons, these hard-won lessons, into practice for myself. Now I want to talk about my plans for the future and what I see happening here. It took me a couple days to kind of shake off the whole Luna UST disaster and to re-look at things for myself. Because I had taken profits. Like I said, I put a bunch of money into stable tokens, but it was in UST, most of it, 90% in UST. And I lost that. So there went my nest egg. There went my side cash. And based on what I see with the Bitcoin charts here, I think that there's a very distinct possibility that we're not done bottoming out. I think that over the next 6 months, we can see the real bear market nature of this cycle. And for me, I've been saying that if we see a Bitcoin price consistently below $29,000, I will consider that a bear market versus a correction of a bigger cycle. It's looking likely that we are heading toward a bear market. We're hovering on that $29,000 Bitcoin price line, and it just doesn't look strong. So it's looking likely that we're going to break down or trend down, and we are looking at a continuation of a bear market cycle. I don't want to be saying that, but I also don't want to have my head in the clouds and missing that and ignoring that. So I think it's likely that we are in a bear market here. With that being said, all my UST is gone, and I had to reevaluate this for myself, and I decided I'm going to take more cash and put it on the sidelines, this time in USD in a bank account. Because I do think that the crypto markets are going to tank further. I think that's a distinct possibility. And I do have an Aave loan. And if crypto tanks, what am I going to pay back that loan with? Certainly not with depreciated crypto. That would take even more of it. And if I want to take advantage of any opportunities during a bear market bottom, I'd have no cash because that was all gone with UST. So really, I have to reformulate my reserves. I have to reform my reserves. And I'm selling some Ethereum to do that at these current prices. It's not the best time to do it. I wish I had done it a long time ago. But I also kind of did prepare. I just prepared with the wrong asset or the wrong stable token. UST was swept out from beneath my feet. And that's what I had my bear market money stored in. So rather than, keep my head in the clouds and pretend like everything's fine, I had to really come to grips with the fact that I did lose my bear market reserves and I needed to reformulate them, to recreate them. And so that's what I've done. I'm beginning to sell some Ethereum for some fiat, some dirty fiat to weather the coming months with until we reach the next bull market cycle, which I think may very well at this stage be after the next Bitcoin halving event. So that's what I'm doing, guys. Again, not financial advice. It never is, never was, never will be. But that is what I'm doing, and I'm just sharing it with you guys so you're tracking with me. I've had some big hits lately. The market has really showed me that I can be wrong, and it's really made me pay for errors in judgment. But I'm here to live another day. I'm here to fight another day, and I do have that perseverance quality. I don't generally give up easy. So I've been hit hard, and I know many of you have been too. So I do sympathize and empathize with you guys. I do understand. But I hope that we can make it together in the upcoming future and come out on top better than before. Another thing that I said recently in Twitter, again, this video is just a stream of consciousness, so I'm kind of just giving you whatever I can recall here, was that I'm thinking of only buying Bitcoin and Ethereum in the future. No other assets. Honestly, none of these other assets have panned out very well for me. And it got me to thinking about the top 10 market cap and all the years I've been in the crypto space. And to be honest, only about 3 of them, I think, 3 or 4 of them have remained in the top 10 the entire time they've existed. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Tether. These are kind of the ones that have been around. Now, I don't personally believe in investing in XRP or Tether. So for me, that leaves Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum is sort of a special case because it's the first smart contract blockchain. So it has tremendous network effects, tremendous user base, and for that reason, I don't think it's going away. But I'm not so blinded that I can't see it happening. If you remember my rules, it's diversification and taking profits. So I do need to diversify. I can't have all my eggs in one basket. Even 2 baskets is a bit little, you know. Bitcoin and Ethereum. I wish I had something else that I could put it into. Right now it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and cash, basically. So that's my plan, is to only buy Bitcoin and only buy Ethereum from this point forward. It's not to say that I can't put some very small bet size, some very small amount into some promising project. I don't want to say I'll never, ever invest in anything other than Bitcoin or Ethereum ever again for the rest of my life, because that's a pretty strong statement. And I think that would probably, I'd end up just having to eat crow on that one. Because, you know, the world is an evolving landscape and things do change. But statistically speaking, my forays into these adventurous new cryptos and DeFi projects have only really lost me money, lost me time, and at best I've broken even in the case of Luna. And at worst I've lost an enormous amount of Ethereum, as in the case of EOS. So I just took a step back and thought, well gosh, what have I really got to show for all these years of hard work and research after buying Bitcoin and Ethereum? Honestly, nothing. Nothing. It's hard to say that, but it's true. So I think it's more important to admit that than to try to pretend it's not the case. So my strategy from this point forward is going to be as follows. I do still hold some other projects. There are tokens I purchased previously, and I just haven't sold them. I hold some HEX, and these are very small percentages, keep in mind. I don't even know what percentage they are. Probably 1 or 2% each. That's how small they are. Maybe even less. But I hold 1 or 2% of HEX. I hold 1 or 2% of Vader protocol. And I don't know how much percent I hold of Pulse Chain, because that hasn't launched yet and it doesn't have a price per token. But I'm guessing I'll have a couple percent of Pulse Chain. Maybe more than a couple percent if it does well. I'm looking forward to that one. And all 3 of those, actually. I hope that they pan out well. But here's how it's going to go. When they go up dramatically in price, and this can be over the next several years, even by the end of the next bull run peak. This is not a rushed thing. Within the next 3 years, when they peak out and they go super high, any profits that I take, and I will be taking profits, I guarantee you, getting my cost basis back, right? I will be putting into Bitcoin and Ethereum. So let's say that HEX does a 10x. I'll take back my cost basis. I'll put that into Ethereum and Bitcoin, 50-50. Let's say that Pulse Chain does a 50x, 50x. Take back my cost basis. I'll probably take back my cost basis before then, probably at a 10x. But if it continues to go up to a 50x, well then I'll take even more profits and I'll sell that and put it into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the same for Vader protocol. Let's say that Vader does a 50x. Well, I'll sell it and put it into Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's sort of like the reverse of what ICO scammers do. They sell you a shitcoin and they take your Bitcoin and Ethereum because that's the real valuable token. So we, as investors, I guess I'll speak for myself, need to be smarter than the shit token dealers. And that means selling when they have good jumps up, good runs up in price, selling it back for the token that you bought it in. So that's my plan for the future. It's continue to hold Bitcoin, continue to hold Ethereum, continue to hold some cash on the sidelines because I see the bear market is upon us and approaching and probably will get worse over the next 6 months. Because historically, it's about a year from the peak to the valley, or even a year and a half from the top of the bull run to the bottom of the bear market. And we're only about 6 months in at this point. We're not that far in, so I think we have another 6 to 12 months to go until we actually bottom out. And that's what the cash is for. It's to get me to that point, and it's to scoop up any good deals that maybe show their face at that time. And lastly, to hold on to the existing projects that I've already purchased. I'm not going to be looking to purchase any new projects, and selling them and taking profits into Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's my plan, guys. That's how I see it. That's what I think's happened. And thank you for listening to this very long podcast. I hope you've learned something. I hope that this has been informative to you. I hope it hasn't been too depressing. I just try to keep it real, as I always do. So I hope that it makes you a better trader. And if that occurs, then it was worth it for me. Have a fantastic day, guys, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care.